How's your guys' days today?
Pretty
Doing
good.
well.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because I think this is the first episode we have a guest out of state, which is what my goal was to do. Like, try to meet new people. We have a couple other people on the wait list, but we just haven't made it around to anybody like outside of California. So this one will be very interesting.
And we're trying to turn M&M into a global brand, right?
We're gonna start pulling people from the UK and Germany and all that stuff.
Yep.
So if you're listening to this and you're an international listener, don't be afraid to hit us up.
We appreciate you
as
guys.
As long as you speak English. Unfortunately, I'm not really a bilingual, but what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Sneak Speak. Today is August 5th, and today's episode is episode 8. I am Mateo.
I'm Brandon.
Brandon's been on the podcast before. He was on episode 5 when we did a podcast surrounding the NBA. Since that podcast, he has actually joined our team. So I'd like to officially, over the podcast, welcome Brandon as a new member of M&M. He will be handling a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, and I'm really excited for what the future holds for us. Still getting into things, and I know he's excited to be on this podcast, and I'm excited for him to join us in a different light today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to helping Mateo out. It's been a lot of fun so far, helping him with social media. And I know he's done a really good job of teaching me and phasing me in. So it's going to be a pretty good partnership we've got for the foreseeable future.
Yep, I'm definitely excited. I'm for sure excited. Today's guest hails from the great state of Wisconsin, a city called Oshkosh, also known on Instagram as MTP Sneakers. Riley, say what's up.
What's up?
Tell us a little about yourself. Wait, let me say it again. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Riley Busha. I am the only owner of MTP Sneakers. I mean, I've been reselling since May of 2020, early May, and it's been a great ride so far.
You told us earlier, but remind the listeners how old you are, where you go to school.
Yeah, I'm 19. I go to UW Oshkosh, and my career path of right now is journalism, but could easily change in the future.
What type of journalism is it specific to? Just regular media or like sports media?
Multimedia.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, Brandon's really big on like sports media, sports management, all that stuff.
Yeah, I love that.
So MTP stands for. Tell us what that stands for, or where that inspiration comes from. So
MTP came just like out of nowhere. I mean, I was just trying to think of a name really quick. I more wanted to like get into like reselling instead of just thinking a name for a long time. So I just like came up with MTP, which it used to stand for Make That Paper. And I'm kind of conflicting on like keeping that but now I change it to Money, Time, Patience, which I believe is like really what reselling is about. But yeah,
that Make That Paper like background and how you changed it, I did not know that, but that's kind of cool. It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's a nice kind of backstory to where you are at now. I just kind of saw the username a couple weeks back, and I was like, some pretty nice values to have with reselling. And I feel like money obvious, time obvious, but the patience part like seems to get lost a lot. And like there's a lot. I mean, there's quick flipping, and if you want to do quick flipping, it's cool. But like some people just, I kind of somewhat disagree with the notion that's like you should take a loss just so you can reinvest it. I do agree with that, but I also agree that like you should like just try to stretch it out for as long as you can handle it until it gets to a point where it's like because I can hold on to a shoe for an extra week to still try to break even or make $10.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, I just gotta sell it now and just reinvest it. Like I'm gonna give up. Like
yeah,
I think you just need to take a couple more weeks before you decide that you're gonna take a loss. And I've taken a loss, no doubt, and I've done that thing where you gotta reinvest it eventually, but it doesn't have to be so rushed.
Yeah, when I used to buy shoes like early on, I was like, I gotta resell this as fast as I can because I need that like quick investment back. But I've realized really quickly like it's not about that. It's about holding on to shoes, and some shoes will spike a week later, and sometimes not a lot of the time they won't go down dramatically, but they just won't, go up as much as you thought they would.
Yeah. I know, like, for most shoes, like, if you can get a really good return on investment in less than a week, just do it. Especially if it's like one of those situations you have in hand before everybody gets from online. The market will correct itself once everyone gets their online orders. If you can just sell it right there, and it's a shoe that everybody else is holding, you're basically selling it for the hold price, like before everybody else even gets it in hand. So it's a smart idea to sell it because it's just going to go down and it's going to take time to go back up, and it might surpass it. Mm-hmm. But by the time it gets to the point that you sold it at, it'll be like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
and by that time you could have just made the money back already. But
yeah, I think there's certain shoes that you should hold that are going to take time to to go up how much ever you want, and then whether you're comfortable. I'd like to ask, like, what's a good price you think for just a regular shoe like that? You think, like, what are you comfortable with reselling? Like, what margins?
Oh yeah, so we did talk about this in a podcast a while back, and I've since then kind of changed my rule of thumb. It was originally I want to make 20% on any item over $50. If it's under $50, I want $10 flat. Mm-hmm. But since I've started getting more into the long-term investments, or like at least medium holds, like 3 to 6 months, I would consider medium. I aim for 20%, and then for every additional like 2 to 3 months, about an extra 10%. So if I buy like a pair of Royal Toes for retail at $185, because the tax out here is stupid, $185, 20% would be $37 on top. So like maybe $220 is like a safe area, right? But if I can sell it if I'm like, I'm gonna hold it and wait for it to keep going up, every 2 to 3 months I need an extra $18. Yeah. Or whatever the original investment is. So if I'm gonna hold on to it for 6 months, that's a total profit of like $70, $75. And that's what I need for it to be worth my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's become like this complicated algorithm.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it like that. I look at it just like
dollar amounts.
Yeah. That's what I look at it as of right now. I mean, down the road I'll probably get into the complicated algorithm that you have, but for now I'm just at the point where if I can see a steal and I can get it and I can hold on to it for longer and I know it'll go up, that's what I'm gonna do. But I mean, I'm not really rushed to sell a lot of my stock. I'm not like, if I know I can get more, I'm gonna hold it.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think the most important thing is, you just gotta do your research and have knowledge about, the shoes in the market, because unfortunately, I think a lot of people who are looking on the outside in at resale businesses, they think it's just really easy and stuff like that. And, it's really not. I don't think resale businesses get enough credit, for kind of the grind they have. And it's exactly like the mini, stock market. You still have to know your stuff, because otherwise you're going to take a loss, and that's not good. So, it's really not just all green pastures. It's a lot of hard work, dedication, and that's how you have to become successful.
Have you been seeing that a lot more since you've got more of the inside on the inside of this organization?
You know what? No, I think I've always known this.
He's like actually no. Since I've joined M&M, I think it's pretty easy. So Riley, how'd you get into shoes, and then how'd you become a sneakerhead, and how'd you get into reselling?
So I became interested in like the hype beast kind of shoe culture back in like my junior year of high school, and my first ever pair of shoes that I bought that were considered like hype, not like an NMD at like a Foot Locker, not like that, but I bought a pair of Jordan 11 UNC Low off of GOAT, and that was my first ever purchase, and I treated those like they were my holy grail, and I wore them to school, and I just thought like I was like so cool, but looking back at it, I was just like, what are you doing? But no, then I started like getting more into shoes, and I started like following pages on Instagram. I started looking up like prices and stuff. And then eventually I kind of took a break when it came into like senior year summer, and then freshman year of college I really never looked at shoes a whole lot. And then until recently, about May, I kind of just got right back into shoes, and I'm like, I think I like the shoe culture. I got back into it, and I kind of took off with it. I didn't really hesitate a lot, and I got right into reselling. And yeah.
The you getting those UNC low Jordans resonates with me because that was also my first Jordan
really?
I kept as a personal. I think that's still my only retro that I have, because the story of how I got into it, I think I've probably mentioned on the previous podcast also, but I bought like a pair of storm blue ones, or I got it like that was my Christmas and birthday present, but I never really wore them. Like I love them, but I just didn't look good in high tops, so I sold them.
Mm-hmm.
But my Columbia blue 11 lows are like my first retro that I've ever kept, and I'm pretty sure that's my only retro because I don't really wear those too much. But I'm more of like a Vans tennis shoe kind of guy. But
that's how I am. I have very skinny legs, so like high tops just they don't work.
Tell me you're a runner. Tell me.
Yeah, I actually ran cross country 4 years in high school track cross country and swimming.
What were your events of track?
I did the 1600 and the 800.
Okay, I like this guy. That's how me and Mason met. Me and Mason met running cross country, and we met in freshman year high school.
Cross country, probably the best sport I've ever done.
Well, that's how you and I met too.
Yeah, I met Brandon like through a friend, but we all did track. But But so what were your times? What were your times for track, at least?
I was never really that great at track. My mile times weren't that great. I mean, like the best I ever did was like a 5:02 for the mile, and then I don't really remember my 800s. But cross country is my strong point, and for me my best time was a 17:49 for cross country, which I thought was okay compared to like the like the people that like train like year round. I was never really that kid. I just like grinded during the season, but then when it came to, the off season, I kind of was like, I'll just wait another day. Maybe I'll run today. Maybe I won't.
Yeah.
I wish I took it more seriously, but yeah.
I think even for that, like if not training in the off season, those are some pretty great times. Those are not very far off from my times at least, but I was like the year round grinder, and it was more because like our team was super good. So even if you were like decently fast, we were more competing with our team than other teams for the most part. And I was just trying to get a spot on the varsity team. And that whole process was pretty grueling, but I had a great time.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the greatest team sports I've ever played I mean, not played, ran, but it was a great time.
Yeah. I know Brandon loves his track days too, but
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Those are the best days. No, but honestly,
I'm just saying you're a big 400.
Yeah. I was a 400 runner, but regardless, like those times you brought up, like don't be too hard on yourself, because those times are a lot better than a lot of people can do. And I think also just going back to what I said about the resale business, not a lot of people give cross country or track the credit it deserves as well. It's a lot of mental, and it's a lot harder than you think. It's not just run every day and I'm gonna get better. No, man. I mean, you have to work so hard, and no matter what, you're gonna learn a lot of things. You're gonna have great team bonding experiences, and you're just gonna grow as a person. So that's just kind of the best part.
Yeah, for sure. When I hate when people make the argument that running is not a sport, and I just like shake my head at them.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's literally it's the basic of every single athletic sport that you do. You're always like moving your feet, like even if it's like a little bit. Like I don't even want to get into that actually.
They just don't understand.
I love that's a debate for like another time that I would love to have, like what makes something a sport. Because I would argue that chess is a sport, or like competitive dance is a sport. But I just think if you are able to be graded or like judged on something and there's like a winner and a loser, it's a sport.
Dance is definitely a sport.
I think that recreational dance is not a sport, but if it's competitive dance, it is. Same with cheerleading. like
Sure.
cheerleading on the sidelines for football. That's just my opinion.
I just think we got to give everyone the credit they deserve. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like, I don't know, maybe bowling or something. I think a lot of
Bowling's a
things.
sport.
Nah, man.
Bowling
The
is a
bowling's
sport.
Nah.
Alright. We'll say that for another podcast. So today, some pretty interesting debates. I wanted to cover a lot of things that I'm not super familiar on, and I think that'll make this episode very interesting. One thing I wanted to touch on was Warren Lotas and the hype surrounding him right now. And then our good investments this week are mainly going to be releases that are supposed to come out way in the future, except for one. But some of them are more recent if we have time for those. But yeah, excited to get to know Riley and his brand, his little business, and excited to hear what these gentlemen have to say. Let's kick it off with Warren Lotas. Warren Lotas has, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like his own clothing line, definitely streetwear. Starting to approach a designer like price point. His brand, his line is kind of surrounded. It's kind of like a DIY line where it's like punk stuff, and he puts these like skulls and flames and motorcycles and revolvers like he stitches them on or paints them onto like the backs of his jackets, the legs of his pants, like all this stuff. He loves like the signature, just like skeleton on a motorcycle, surrounded by flames, wearing a Friday the 13th Jason mask. Like that is the kind of vibe that just gets stitched onto the back of a leather jacket, and he sells that. And this is not usually my vibe. And I took a look at his past collections, and I'm not gonna lie, like it is not my vibe, but I might wear this. It's pretty cool. Like the way that he executes it is pretty cool. He's 20 years old and started this brand, this clothing line when he was our age, when he was a freshman in college. I'm pretty sure he's a college dropout, and he's doing some pretty interesting stuff for himself. But the big hype around it right now is these basically knockoff Nike Dunks, which I don't think they're actually knockoffs. I think he actually uses real Dunks. He might. I'm not sure, but basically he takes the swoosh and puts a Jason. I forget what's Jason's last name for Friday the 13th. You know what I'm talking about? Anyways, puts a Jason mask on the curved part of the swoosh, and looks pretty cool. But the retail is like $300. The resale market is somewhere around like $500 to $600.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, they've just started to like come out of nowhere, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, because really it's not a collab. It's like he's doing his own DIY thing on a pair of Nike Dunks, taking advantage of this dunk wave going on right now.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what he's doing. He's obviously has his attention towards what's trending right now and the dunk wave that just recently came back. I think it's really interesting what he's doing with it, like what he's doing. And it's funny because I actually bought his Dunks when they dropped like 2 days ago.
Was it the brown and pink ones?
The brown and the brown
red?
and pink ones. Yeah. Brown
Yes,
and pink
I think
ones.
those are August 2nd. I think it was like the 2nd. So
Yeah.
that would be
I bought those, and then I was reading the comments, like all saying, like all just like talking trash about this guy, and it just got to my head, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't really want, because the other thing that I took into account was that it was going to take 3 to 4 months to get to me, the shoe.
This one was a pre-order. This recent release was all a pre-order.
Yeah, so I took that into account, and I got a size 9.5, and then I canceled my order. So I'll see if that comes back and bites me. I'm sure it will, but I just don't know. $300 to wait 3 to 4 months. I don't know if it was kind of worth it for me, but we'll see.
I'm curious to know if they're on StockX, because I haven't I'm pretty inexperienced with this stuff in terms of how it's doing on the resale market. I've just seen a lot of media around it. Yeah, it's not on StockX. It's one of those like niche things that like it's executed pretty well, but like it's also a knockoff. I think they're pretty limited. I want to say like, I don't even want to give a number. I think they're like relatively limited.
I was reading the comments, and he posted on his story a bunch of times when they dropped, and I was like thinking about canceling or not, and there were comments saying about 30,000, and I was like, there's no way that this is 30,000. And then it turns out like it's below like 10K, I think, for these specific ones, which I think that's probably going to come back and bite me, like I said before.
I thought I saw 2,000, but I think that's way
2,000.
too low. But I don't know. I looked at this interview that Hypebeast had done with him. They had interviewed him, and I saved a couple quotes because they're pretty interesting. There was a question about like, what kind of advice do you have for young entrepreneurs? And he says this. He says, "I started this when I was 18 and I'm 20 now. A lot of people in my age group will tell you that your youth is a time to make mistakes, and as you navigate through your life, you'll find a lot of people buy into that philosophy. Great. It's for that reason that you have to work hard when you're young, because everybody else is experimenting, making mistakes, and wasting time. He says, I'd rather deny myself a social life while I'm young, be set for the rest of my life, and then figure it out, as opposed to waiting until everybody else is scrambling for work after college."
I love that.
I read that. I was like, that's a very insightful way of looking at it. He's like, you take all this great advice and then you have to put yourself ahead of that curve. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody else is hearing this great advice, if everybody else is, making mistakes and experimenting, you have to be prepared for what happens next. And I think that's a great mindset.
And I think one thing that, we can apply to that for right now is during this coronavirus pandemic, right? Like, we all have so much time. And, this applies to anybody, not just resale, but whatever you're working towards your future, right? Like, you have to set yourself up for success. You have to grind right now, because those who aren't are falling behind. And what you're doing right now is going to push you forward. So it's kind of like you're going to win or lose during this time. And you have to tell future employers about, what you made use of this very valuable time. So just don't fall behind, always grind.
I just do want to emphasize that, like, this doesn't always mean like something physical. I know a lot of people want to take some time for themselves, like get their mental right, and I totally support that too.
Absolutely.
I just think as long as you're doing something for yourself, like, this is the perfect time to do it, because the world is literally saying you can't do anything else. Like, go do nothing. And so what you decide to do with that nothing time kind of defines who you're going to be when this is all said and done.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I like the thing you said, I think the world's like at a stopping point right now, and we're just like at a weird time where you're kind of expected to do nothing, and you're not like supposed to like hang out with people or whatever, but it's a time to better yourself, and like a lot of people are going to come out of this a better person. And how I look at it is that we're paused right now, and once this pandemic is over, like the resellers, or people like us who are grinding and just like trying to do something productive, they're going to come out a lot better than those people who are just sitting there doing nothing all day and just sitting in their house or just
playing video games.
Right.
Nothing against that. Mateo brought up a good point. Like, this is also a great time to reflect and grow as a person, right? It doesn't have to always be grind. You have to look out for yourself, your friends, and your family. So just have a good balance in what you're doing. I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anyways, I bring up this thing about Warren Lotas, like the interview, because I didn't know anything about him like as a person, and through this interview I found like some very interesting things about him, and like just the way that he thinks. And I do like the way that he thinks, especially as a designer, because this next quote is in response to the question, "The signature text written on the clothing pieces read like diary entries. How do you decide what and how much you're going to share with the public?" Talking about like I said, DIY, stitches all these graphics on, but he also puts a lot of words and messages, just like a lot of other clothing lines are doing right now. And he replies in 2 sentences to this question. He says, "I'll write almost anything on my clothes. Sometimes it's a confession, other times it's describing the lunch I cooked for myself that day." And I think that's just like, you can look at it like, that's so lazy. Like you could, of course I could do that. Like, if anybody else want to do that, but like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's deeper than that. This thing about artists, that artists can just do whatever they want, and the consumers can just interpret it however they want. And that is, to me, is just crazy how much that interpretation drives art, like
Yeah.
especially American art.
I think it's like he's kind of what you described it as, how he puts just random words on his clothing. I kind of like connect that to Off-White with their shoes and clothing, how they just sometimes it'll just say like where the shoe was made, like on the side, and it says air in quotations. Like it's just simple things that just drive up the value, and some things that I can't like wrap my head around, but it's just something that it's very interesting, like how designers are, they can just make something just pop like that.
Yeah, along those same lines, I'm always like super intrigued when like athletes, especially with their signature shoes, they put little quotes on them, and I really appreciate like the deeper meaning that it has when it does have deeper meaning. One of my favorite examples is the Giannis shoe, the Freak One, because there's so many like little messages in that thing. Like the bottom part, the bottom traction is in the shape of roses, and it's in every shoe is supposed to symbolize his dad and the roses that they laid out at his funeral when he passed away. And or like the Kobe shoes with the Kobe code, and how they always have like a message to him, and sometimes they're even like in a different language since he is trilingual.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that just is amazing to me, and I thoroughly appreciate when they put in the extra effort to do that stuff.
Yeah.
The last quote that I have is very interesting to me as a businessman, as somebody who owns this company. He's talking about the pre-order. He's talking about a pre-order of the dunks, of the green dunks. This wasn't a direct quote. This is a quote from the article. It was like a synopsis. It says, he notes that the shoes have been ordered but will not be in his possession until late September due to international freight shipping times. If the shoes are unable to ship before October 15th, he will be giving everyone $100 in addition to the shoes. I don't think I've ever heard that before from someone who distributes goods like this. Like, he's going to give you a 33% refund if he doesn't get it out by a certain time, which also I think is a testament to how like hard of a worker he is, and how important it is for him to stick to his word and get this product out to his fan base.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I didn't hear that before, but he takes pride in his work, and he wants the best customer service and the best overall quality product out there, and I think that's like really important to building a brand too. Yeah,
that like I think that's amazing that he does that. It's such a simple thing to do. It's just like, it's just taking forever. Like we'll give you a partial refund or whatever. But like I've never heard of somebody at this level, like so big, doing that. Like, can you imagine like if you're Nike, or like can you imagine if Antisocial Social Club took this on? Because Antisocial takes like 90 days just to get the shipment out, like 60 to 90 days, and they say that. And or like the Travis Scott website, when you buy his merch off of his site, it takes forever to ship. And I think it's great that Warren Lotas has taken this as his responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not the one he says like it's being made overseas. So, but he's taking responsibility for whatever's going on over there. And I think that's key and amazing for a business owner, for somebody who has this like leadership role to take on.
Yeah, definitely. I think customer service is just super important, right? You want to show that you're appreciating your customers, but also holding yourself accountable. And it's easy for us to do that, right? Because we're all small and stuff. But if you're like super high up, like that's just even more impressive, right? Like that's one of the reasons why I really like Steph and Giannis. I mean, they're just humble superstars, right? They don't have an ego to them, and they conduct themselves as if they're just nobody knows them, right? So I love hearing stories like that, and just the humility of those type of people is absolutely amazing, and they deserve more credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So along the lines of being a successful businessman, leader, what important values do we hold? Riley did remind me of this question: what makes a successful reseller? And he says, like, I know you probably get this a lot, but I wanted to touch on this question. And I realized that so many people ask this question and we never really like directly answer them. We like try to, beat around the bush a little bit. So let's talk about that. Riley, what qualities as a reseller, let's say specifically for our platform, like on Instagram, not like a consignment shop owner, but a small time reseller. What's important to you? Like, what do you think is important for success?
I think something that's really important to be successful is, for an example, if you're talking to someone on Instagram and they just like treat you disrespectfully, I think it's really important to stay you and don't go down to their level and start like using like cuss words or whatever. I think it's really important that you have to like just keep doing what you're doing and just try to be as respectful as possible. Another thing I would like to add is being as attentive to the customer as possible, because I mean, you're selling them a product and they expect what you said that they get. And I think it's just really important to just keep your character and just keep doing what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree very much with both those points. I always think like, I know what we're doing isn't like a storefront business, like you can't walk into our shop or anything, but I like to think of treating our DMs as our store. So like if somebody came in, if a customer was upset, they wanted a return, but like the return policy, the time frame was up, or whatever, and like they're getting all mad at us because we won't accept their return. Like in a store, am I gonna like start as an employee? Am I gonna start cussing them out? Or, like, am I gonna I want to treat them the same way as I would in a store? And I think the main difference is that if I'm gonna work like retail, which I have, like usually if I can't handle it, if I can't get the answer, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go get a manager for you. But in this case, we are the manager, so we get to take complete control. But a manager using that type of language with a customer is just gonna be bad business for your entire store and maybe your entire company. That drives, like good customer service means repeat customers. And not that money is the most important thing in the world. Another thing that I value and what makes our reselling business successful is relationships. So not just treating people the right way, but treating people the right way with the intent to like almost befriend them. Or like when I go to meetups, or when I go to bless you.
Thank you.
When I go to meetups, or when I go camp out in line, or like when I go to stores, like when I talk to people, I want people to enjoy and remember the conversation that we're having, so that we can continue this conversation over social media or through text or over the phone or something. And I think having like just expanding your network is something that Brandon really values and that I would love to bring to the table. And another thing that I would love Brandon to bring to the table for M&M is relationships, is something that I really value. I think like being transparent is important, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what you were getting at.
I also wanted to mention being unique as possible, like with what you guys are doing, branching out to different areas and creating kind of like a brand almost, and that's your goal. And just like being unique as possible, not just staying inside like the whole like shoe market just on Instagram is and I think you guys are like doing podcasts, you have a website. I'm sure you have other plans for the future, which is like how you guys are going to grow and to be like bigger than just like these people that just mainly just are looking to chase the money, but you guys have a bigger idea than that. And that's something that's really needed in order to grow bigger than a lot of these other smaller people.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that and acknowledging that about us. Along those same lines, I'll plug it more at the end, but Riley, I've been seeing on his Instagram on NTP that he's been wanting to start a podcast. And I think right now you wanted to focus on scaling first, but right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to hear what that podcast is going to sound like.
I really like your mindset mentality, Riley. First up, bringing how you're trying to keep a level head with every single customer you have, even if they're disrespectful to you. And I'm going to bring up an example that I learned from a Milwaukee Bucks panel back in May. And one of the guys said that, what is passion? Everyone thinks that passion is just, having fun, loving something, right? But passion is really enduring. So enduring going through the bad times, right? Like are you still able to love something even though you're going through adversity? So by you bringing it up, that makes me think that, you're going to go far because you're going to keep a level head towards anything. You're able to get through adversity during the bad times and the good times. And that's super important to have. So good for you. I love that thought you brought up, and it's really important, keep a level head.
And to go back on like what we were talking about before with like cross country and everything, I think that cross country taught me a lot about just fighting through that pain of running 3.1 miles and just like keeping that like strong mental, because it's hard to sometimes deal with people, but if you can do that and if you can endure like the mental toughness, you're gonna go really far in life.
Yeah, that's
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it, man.
Yeah, on a more tangible area of values, or not so much values, like tangible area, like what makes you successful. I think something that I learned in the first like 6 months of reselling was you have to learn what works for you. You have to learn about your customer base, who's following you, who's paying attention, and what they want. Because pretty much like everybody needs shoes, right? But not everybody wants the expensive shoes. Not everybody wants the cheap shoes. But if you can kind of experiment and learn what works for you, what consumer base that you have, that's going to make you more successful. Because you may be making like a lot of profit off of like Travis Scott shoes or whatever. But if you have access to a really good outlet store that always gets really good releases, you live right down the street from a mall, you can get the new hyped releases. You like live next to the only thrift store in your entire county that has a big collector's market for vintage stuff. Like you got a lot of old people that just donate their concert tees or their NASCAR tees. You know what I mean? Like whatever you have access to combined with the people that you have access to correlates to how much success that you're going to have in terms of sales and revenue and repeat customers and all that stuff. Because if you have one guy that's looking for like all the off-whites, all that stuff, and you have them, but you don't have them in his size, like nobody else is going to buy that. Somebody will buy it. Like, don't get me wrong. We have access to the internet and all that stuff, but it's also a combination of like, how much do you know about that stuff? Like you have to, now you're competing with everybody else that's selling that off-white shoe, and you have to be able to know where you price it at, how much you're going to pay for it, what the turnaround is going to be, your return on investment, and compare, like, because there's going to be, I don't know how many other pairs, you know what I mean? And you have to make sure that yours stands out. You have to be able to work eBay. You have to be able to know how to work OfferUp and get your product out there to people in order to get it sold.
Yeah, I do agree with that a lot. I've never really thought about it that way, but I'm just getting into that mindset of what's really working for me. I mean, I buy a mixture of everything right now, just to see like what's working. And so I recently just did a story sale yesterday, and I have a lot of Jordan 1s and like high expensive shoes, but those are still sitting in the room next to me. But I bought like 4 pairs of shoes the other day, and I already sold 2 of them within the next day and I just made $100 off of that. So I'm just trying to still figure out what's gonna work and what's not. But I think keeping an abundance, or if you hit all like the hype stuff, if you get some of the cheaper stuff, I think you're gonna draw a higher crowd. Like obviously the hype stuff is gonna take a little longer to sell and to find those people, because not everyone's willing to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
But as long as you know your market, I think reselling will get easier.
Yeah. And after a year and a half of doing this, at least for us, like we are still in the experimenting phase. Me and Mason actually just went thrift shopping for the first time, like we went like Sunday, and then we also went yesterday. And we've never gone thrift shopping before. We've never gone thrifting like that, like for profit. And we're still trying to experiment and, like you said, expand and have that abundance, because I also think like the more variety that you have, the more the bigger your customer base automatically becomes. Because most sneakerheads are going to be into Jordans. Like that's just what
Mm-hmm.
kind of sparked this whole culture thing, right? But there's a whole nother market, although it may not be that big. There's a whole nother market when it comes to like Tyler the Creator's Golf LaFleur's, or just Vans or budget Nikes, outlet pickups. Like the more people that you can connect to also means the more people that they will connect you to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a big chain reaction, and I definitely agree with what Riley said about the abundance thing, because we try to have like a price range for everyone, a style for everyone, and if you're catering to everyone, that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I think that's why part of the reason I think Instagram is such a great platform, because it reaches out to really everyone that you can imagine.
Yeah. And I actually realized that I'm probably contradicting myself when I say like figure out what you want for your consumer base and then cater to everyone. I would say experiment and then cater to like what works for you until you have enough capital to start experimenting in another area. So you pick one area, try to branch into another area, find one that like is your second best, and see what you can do with those two areas, build some more capital, try to get to another area, and eventually you'll just be hitting everything. Like if you end up if you move from sneakers and you end up flipping like computer parts, great, because whatever makes you your money, whatever you are knowledgeable on, whatever you can do, like that's the goal, is to become successful with whatever you can do, whatever you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think, don't be afraid to continue to experiment, because as you said, you're, Mateo, you're still learning after, a year and a half, throughout this business, right? And don't be afraid, because it takes people years to accumulate that wealth of knowledge and experience, so don't be shied away from that. And, just try your best, because eventually you'll get there.
Yeah. And along with what we said earlier about the patience thing, like if something doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean sell it, take a loss, and just move on to something else. I think if something's not working for you, it doesn't mean that it's like not going to sell. Like if you're holding on to something for like 6 months and you didn't intend for it to be in your possession for that long, it doesn't mean that it's not going to sell. It might mean that you're not tackling the right avenues. Like if you're only posting on Instagram and eBay, OfferUp is an entirely different marketplace. Grailed is a completely different marketplace. Like if you're not utilizing the features on Goat well enough, to be honest, sometimes I'll have a box in like perfectly good condition, has a slight little ding, and I put it under a damaged box and list it for $5 cheaper. That sometimes sells faster than when I put a new listing. I might have sacrificed $5, but somebody's gonna look at it and be like, I'm just gonna wear it anyways, so I'm just gonna buy that. And but then people be like, why don't you just undercut the new price? Because that person's just gonna keep undercutting and undercutting. Why would they want to list theirs under a damaged box? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a small thing, and you can't, take this too much into consideration. Just keep doing it. But if something's not selling for you, I would say experiment. You can experiment with platforms as well, not just your inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's kind of something I really need to experiment with and get into, because I really only right now I'm on Facebook Marketplace, Goat, Instagram, very little amount of eBay, and that's about it. But I think if I can expand more and get into more platforms, I think it's just going to help me. And honestly, anyone can do it and can help any other reseller expand to different audiences.
Yeah. Just think about because I think about this too. Like when I post on OfferUp, I text people on OfferUp because they want to see more of my inventory. And I'll be like, do you have Instagram? You can just hit us up on Instagram. And they'll say, no, I don't have Instagram. Like we're not thinking about the people that don't even have access to the platform that you're using, which is also very important. So that's what I like to get at when I say use all these other, take advantage of all these other platforms, because you don't know what people have access to. Some people don't even know about Bump.
Mm-hmm.
Bump is basically like the little brother of Grail, but it still works. Like I've still sold some stuff through Bump, and why not try it? It's, you don't have to pay for anything. So these two topics were actually very in depth today, and it took us a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, but I loved it. I loved everything that came out of it. Definitely got some new information for myself, at least, and I think the listeners are going to love what kind of value we put out. So we're just going to skip right to these next new releases. 2 huge releases. And one of them, I just can't believe that they're doing. The first one is the Sean Witherspoon collaboration with Atmos and ASICS. Very resemblant of his, was it 2017 or 2018 version of the Sean Witherspoon Air Max 90, Air Max 1 mashups. Obviously, that shoe is just taken off and is going to become a holy grail for a lot of sneakerheads. He has since left that relationship with Nike and moved on to ASICS and is doing a collaboration with Atmos. I say very resemblant because it's still got the corduroy patterns in it and a lot of, different pastel neon colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what model it is, but the ASICS logo on the side is a removable Velcro patch, which has also been popping off. Just the Velcro, the customization
right
of sneakers has just been really exciting recently. And so it comes in like maybe 6 or 7 different colors. And I think these are set to release in August, but I'm wondering, at least just aesthetically off the bat, what do you guys think about them?
I really didn't know what to think about him, but I know Sean Witherspoon is obviously when he made those Air Max 197, I really wanted those shoes, obviously, but I mean, the price point is a little too high for me. But I think as a designer, I think the shoe's gonna take off. I feel like it will.
It has to, yeah. I feel dumb. You said 90. You said 97. I said 90. That was my bad. I feel dumb now. I should have done
No, it's all good.
Brandon, what were you gonna say?
Honestly, I love Nike. Those are kind of like the only shoes I really care about. But I honestly really like the colorways here. They're unique and special, and I think that's what's really important in a shoe. So yeah, no, they're not bad at all.
I think it's very interesting because I never really paid attention, but I'm looking at more pictures now. I was saying pastel colors and all that. And that's like the one that's being highlighted is like the right shoe. But now that I'm looking at the left shoe is like the opposite. It's like dark. It's like mainly black, purple. It's got like purple on the toe, red on the heel, like a dark red. And the other ones, it's very like a yin yang pair. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like the details in these things, like the little like hidden Easter eggs that he's putting in. Like the back tab has this like little section that you can peel off and it reveals like the Atmos logo, or there's like a peace sign in there. And this has been like a highly anticipated, highly rumored shoe for maybe over the past year. And I am very excited to see how they do. For anybody wondering where to get these, probably just going to have to stick to like high-end retailers, enter raffles, probably on the ASICS website, but everybody's going to be on the ASICS website. You're going to have a lot of competition there. I am not the most experienced on resale predictions, but if I were to give these a resale prediction, I'd say off the bat maybe like 500.
That's what I was going to say.
Initially, 500, 600. You give it a couple years, just like the Sean Witherspoons, definitely at 900. I don't think that they're ever going to reach the price point of the original Witherspoons for 2 reasons. 1, that's the original. 2, it's Nike. This is ASICS. But, I mean, Witherspoon is getting this, like, name with himself that's kind of like Travis Scott or Kith, or, like, you just put their name on it and it'll automatically do well as long as it looks decent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think those are set to release, like, in the middle of August.
Yeah, these are crazy.
Yeah.
You said they have the removable patches that you can just customize. I think that's kind of a little trendy thing right now that I think it's gonna help the price point with those.
Yeah. It's the whole sneaker culture has become like, it hit this phase for a while. It was just like, it doesn't matter like what you wear, with just like if you wear Off-White Chicago's, just wear Off-White Chicago's. But it's kind of moved into this, it's progressed back into the whole fashion thing, like make sure you're wearing it with something right. Which is one of the big reasons why I got into the sneaker culture, was the whole fashion thing. And I wasn't really with it when it was just like people were wearing like ugly like track pants with some shoes that just didn't fit. And the customization totally lets you wear with any outfit you want. You know what I mean? Or like at least show a different side of you if you're gonna layer, like, because you can take these Velcro patches and just layer them on top of each other. And that's like not what it was intended for, but you can totally do that and become a whole different, show off a whole different side, a whole different creative side.
Yeah, way to express yourself. I love it.
Yeah. The other shoe that I think is crazy is the rumored Supreme collab with Jordan 1. Let's just let that sink in for a second. Have they ever done a Jordan 1? I don't think so.
I think I was reading. Wasn't it back in 2003? They did.
I mean, we know all the collabs with the Dunks in the past, the Air Forces, the other Jordans, the Jordan 5s, the Jordan 14s.
Yeah, that was a Dunk. Never mind.
Yeah, but like you are taking the number one. I know we kind of dissed on Supreme in like a previous podcast because even though they're on a decline, they're still at the top. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we are taking the number one hypebeast streetwear brand and collabing it with arguably the number one, like most popular and most nostalgic sneaker silhouette in history. And you are going to collab it. And I'm a little hesitant with this colorway scheme that they're going for. I've seen mock-ups that they're going to be resemblant and a nod to the old Dunks that came in a pack of red, blue, and orange with like stars in them. There was like a pack of SB Dunks or Nike Dunks that they did when they did the collab with Supreme, like years ago. And the rumor is that they're going to use that same color scheme and same pattern on the Jordan 1. Regardless, bro, these are going to go insane regardless.
Yeah. These are, I don't even know like what the resale value, I don't even have a number.
What would you guess? Like right out the gate, when everybody's trying to flip them and it's going to be at its lowest, like right out of the gate, what would you guess?
At its lowest, right out the gate, it's going to be over 1,000 right out the gate, I think. I was going to
say, yeah. I was going to say like 1,200, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere over 1,000 for sure. But I mean, over time, obviously, they're just going to keep going up, just like any Jordan 1.
Like, that might be an outrageous estimate. Like, it might be closer to, like, 600, 800. But yeah. I just think that, like, once people realize and they have an appreciation for what's going on here, like, it's almost like Supreme and Jordan have been scared or they've been saving this collab for now. And I don't even, like, what else could you ask for?
Right.
Like, if you don't like the design, you just don't like how it looks, fine, but at least recognize that it's an ode to like a past collaboration, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I believe these are scheduled for spring or rumored for spring 2021, summer 2021.
Yeah.
Or at least late winter, but I think it's spring. These are insane.
Yeah, there's just too much fire.
Like you said before, like regardless if you don't like them or not, like I'm just like in awe just looking at these. These are just insane. I don't know. Like as a sneakerhead, it just, I don't know. I'm just kind of speechless. Like this is even happening.
This is gonna be another grail. That's like,
Travis for Scott, sure.
The Travis Scott ones. The what was the other one I was just thinking of? Oh, the Off-White ones.
Off-White, like, yeah.
We're taking the Jordan 1 and, again, pushing it to a new level, in my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is the greatest shoe of all time. This is just, like, one of the most insane collaborations of our time.
Oh, for sure.
Because of what is going on. Like, they could, like, a collaboration with Jordan, we've seen that. Never a Jordan 1. You know what I mean? And for them to execute it, like the SB Dunk that came out, I forgot when it came out, but the SB Dunk does look a lot like the Jordan 1, and they're going to execute it the same way. And it's kind of, it's a nostalgic feeling for the big Supreme heads that were around when those came out, you know, and the prices on those Dunks are insane already. I'm going to look them up right now because I'm curious to know if they have gone up or down or changed at all since the news came out. Let's look at this. Let's look at the red ones. Those are probably the most expensive. Oh my god. Okay. Well, okay. There's a little. Okay.
Last sale on the size 10.5 sold for 4.6.
$4,600. You know what's interesting though? That was last month.
Yeah.
The retail on these in 2003 was $75. That's insane. And to think that there's only one listed on StockX right now for $50,000. I don't think anyone's gonna buy that, but the highest bid is 4,100. It's this whole this is crazy. I'm a little speechless.
Do you think I don't know if you like know numbers really well. But I don't really know much about like the whole like quantity, but do you think they'll be pretty limited?
I imagine they'll make them more limited than any of the other Jordans they've done in the past.
Yeah.
Just because of, or at least it'll feel that way because they're going to be so desirable, so sought after. For anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, imagine like a Chicago, except it's only white and red, and then the midsection is white with gold stars. That's basically what we're talking about.
I mean, do you think it's going to be like the same as the Air Dior's?
No.
Only because the Dior's were like super, super limited, and they're like Dior is a high end brand that's already charging like their values are
they retailed for like what was
2,000
like $2,000
2,000
either
yeah
2,000 or
yeah
2,200.
That's crazy.
But also there were only like 8,000. I think there's only
so much.
there were only 8,000 pairs of there are only 8,000 pairs of each of those or both of them. I think it was 8,000 each. But,
really? I thought there's way less.
I think there was like 2,000.
You're making me doubt myself. Maybe. I don't know. Brandon, I know Brandon loves like the neon and like the orange and stuff. So if Brandon's going to get first pair of hype shoes, it's going to be the orange Supreme Jordan 1.
I don't know, man. I don't think I look good in Jordans. We'll see though.
We're gonna save up all of our money. Anybody that's gonna buy from us in the next year, all that money, all that profit money is going to Brandon's shoe.
Hey, I'm saving up for the Kobe's next year, dude.
Make us go. Wait. Remind everybody which Kobe's.
So the Kobe 6 Grinch, they're rumored to re-release. And then also Kobe 5s have been rumored as well. But I'm really hoping they do a surprise release with the Kobe 11s. Those are my favorite Kobe's, and they need to come out.
We need those retroed.
Yeah. I mean, those are his last season in playing in Kobe, so you got to do it, right?
Yeah. Brandon's excited for the Grinch 6s and the OVO Air Forces, which are sick.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen those, Riley?
The OVO.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I'm gonna look them up right now.
They're basically like the Supreme Air Force ones. They just got an owl. It's also a mock-up, but get this podcast viral, and we will buy Brandon either the Grinches or the OVO Air Forces. Get this podcast viral.
I appreciate that.
And we'll buy it for him.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah.
Those are cool, yeah.
I love OVO, and
yeah, those look clean.
Me and Brandon are big Drake fans. I don't know about you, Riley, but
yeah, I like Drake.
Dude,
I like his older stuff.
When is he gonna drop his new album? He said I'm dropping one in summer. Dude, summer's almost over, bro.
If the album was that mixtape, I'm gonna be very disappointed. I thought the mixtape was just like all the songs that didn't make it for the
yeah. No, he's like, oh yeah, it's not a summer without a Drake album, and like, dude, summer's over. And actually, this is a little bit off track, but I told Mateo that he should actually drop it next summer, because next summer everyone's gonna go crazy, right? Like, we're actually gonna be able to be outside, and so hopefully. I think his music is gonna be right. I think we will, right? But people are just gonna be so happy, like his music's gonna pop off more than right now, because while there are still people who go outside a lot, the majority I believe stay inside. So I just maybe drop What a Time to Be Alive 2 this summer, and then go off on next year
for sure.
I think that's all we're gonna have time for this episode. Very, very exciting discussions today. They get me excited for the future. Everything we talked about today, I'm pretty excited about. I want to thank Riley for joining us today.
Preach.
Make sure to go drop a follow. Yep, no problem. Make sure to go drop a follow at MTP Sneakers, based out of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, based out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. If you're listening to this podcast, you got all the way through, make sure to DM us or Riley your opinions on the Jordan 1s, the new Supreme Jordan 1s. or the Atmos Sean Witherspoons. For everybody listening that ordered a t-shirt from us, I just got word that they were printed and they're going to be shipped this week. So if you're local, hopefully you'll get your shirt this week or next week. If you're out of the Northern California Bay Area, we're going to ship out your stuff to you soon.
I'm going to need one of those.
Yeah, we ordered some extras because we ordered some extras.
Hey,
surprise everybody! I told you we weren't going to order you extras, but we got a couple extras. So if you guys are down, all the profits are getting donated to the organization of your choosing. You can find more information if you DM us. We have a Google form you can fill out, all that stuff. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate Riley being here. Make sure to hit us up. Any questions? If you guys want to be on the podcast, hit us up. With that being said, signing off. I'm Mateo.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Riley.
And we will catch you guys in the next one.